What's up, everybody? So today we want to do something pretty simple. Well, actually, I set this tank up just to show you how simple and easy saltwater really is. There's a lot of people that are afraid of it. You don't have to be. If you're doing planted tanks in your aquariums, you're kind of familiar with some of this stuff already. But you know, anyway, we're going to go through this thing and kind of show you. I did this as a simple setup. You guys already kind of saw on the side over here what I'm talking about. I set this up so that we could easily look at this tank and see all the equipment in it. I want you to see how crystal clear this water is. Okay. Now, this system, you know, like the actual system, everything that's running in here has been running for about 2 years. So it's not like I just took everything and put it together today, and that's why I have crystal clear water. No. This has been going for 2 years. You know, I just kind of wanted to go through that real quick. Let's talk about the inhabitants. What's in here? 2 Ocellaris clownfish. Back there, Sebastian. That's a banded coral shrimp. There's a royal grandma in here, but it's sleeping. And then we have Jenny, the Blenny. You guys see I have marine pure spheres in there. If you just want to minimize the rock structure, you can use those spheres in your sump, and I mean, the surface area on that little ball right there is as much surface area as I have on that huge rock there in the center that everything is kind of piled on. That's to give you an idea how good these marine pure blocks are. They work really, really well. The spheres or the blocks, they have 2 different kinds. So there's that. Some other inhabitants in the tank. You know, we've got some zoas. Sorry about the glass. I should have cleaned it. Got a little bubble anemone back there. Just a little one. Clowns haven't quite found it yet. The bubble anemone was added today. In here we have, it's hard to see. Let's see that one a little bit better. That algae back there, that's dragon's breath. It's a really beautiful algae. And then we've got a little frog spawn here. So, pretty cool. This is my boy's tank. This is Hunter's tank. Let's see what he thinks about it. How do you like your tank, Hunter?
How'd you know I was in here?
Because you're right behind me.
What?
So talk to me about your tank, man. What do you think about it?
It's really cool. I've actually never owned an actual, like, anemone before. I mean, like, okay, so my dad has owned 2 anemones no, 4 anemones before. 2 carpet anemones, and then 2 of them were, like, the stringy anemones. This is a bubble anemone, which I've actually never seen before. Or
so you're excited to have it?
Yeah, okay.
Sweet.
That's a more simple way to put it.
Alright, let's talk about the setup on your tank. What do you think?
Well, I like how the rocks are set up, even though they're just kind of piled on each other, because it kind of forms this little hole right here. It looks like a little tiny cave where, like, a crab or, you know, something could just kind of like establish in there and just call it home. And
cool.
It's open air. And you just come and go as you please.
Alright, so we actually want to talk about the setup on the tank. So the first thing we always want to discuss is the pump. Picked up the pump on eBay. Wasn't very expensive, about 20 bucks, somewhere in that area. And what your pump is doing is taking the water from your sump. It's going to take it up into your tank. So you see we got a lot of flow. This pump is a little bit excessive for this tank, but it works out well because of the overflow. Now the overflow, this is pretty simple. This is what you're going to use to adjust your water height in your tank, and this is what's going to take the water back to your sump. So it's really important that you get a pump that is big enough. You guys can see through here, I've got air bubbles, okay? If I start getting air trapped here, and then more and more and more and more and more, I'm going to lose the siphon, so everything that's in my sump will be pumped into the tank, and guess what happens? Your tank overflows up here, and it sucks. So Make sure you get a decent pump. Don't go skimpy cheapy on the pump. Make sure you get a good one and one that's going to work well. Alright, that's number one. Number two, the actual filtration for your saltwater tank is your live rock. The bacteria cultivates in this rock. So this right here is your filtration, your biological filtration. That's what you're using, live rock. It's called live rock because there's live bacteria living in the rock. And that's what's going to, the ammonia cycle, if you guys don't know what that is, feel free to look on YouTube. I'm not going to go through the whole thing right now. Wave makers. These guys right here are pumping water over this rock. So what that's doing is helping me get water over this rock to actually filter it. Getting rid of the ammonia and nitrites, and it's going to turn it into nitrates, which you're going to get rid of with water changes. And I'm going to show you another little trick. So we go out of the overflow, boom, down into here, and we get into a refugium. Now, saltwater algae is different. It's not like regular algae in your freshwater tanks, okay? It's not like, oh my gosh, I have algae. No, this stuff here is actually beneficial in your saltwater tank. You still get hair algae and that kind of stuff in your tank. It's not something you're going to want. You're going to get cyanobacteria, a lot of the similar things that you're going to get in saltwater. In freshwater, you're going to get in saltwater too. We just want to avoid those things, so we're using a prettier algae or something that is bulky and easy to clean. So yeah, that's why we use that kind of algae. There's like Chaeto, there's there's hundreds and hundreds of saltwater algae that you can use in a refugium. This is an in-tank refugium, so it actually sits down inside my sump. See if I can get you a little bit better look. A little bit better. Anyway, it sits down in there, so that's pretty cool. The next piece of equipment I want to talk to you about is this light right here. This light is what grows my algae. Now, the light I paid $6 for at Walmart, and then the bulb is actually a floodlight bulb, and if you see on the reflection right there, you can see this is a full bulb that fits inside this thing. It's a spotlight bulb, 6500 Kelvin. It's going to help us grow that algae that's down there. And I take this algae out of my refugium in my 120 gallon, and we put it in here, just kind of like a holding or a holdover type thing. I do have Barballs in my tank. I started out with this with a 12-gallon cube. It's been pretty close to 2 years now. But you see all those little critters and things that are inside these things? That's why I keep them. It's filtering. It's filtration. It is what it is. I actually had these originally because my brine shrimp loved to hide in them and sit in them. And the little critters and things that I had running around inside my sump couldn't get to it because these float, so the brine shrimp and the pods and everything would actually sit inside here, and they were able to hide without issue. Alright, so the next piece of equipment, this to me is one of the most important pieces of equipment. And the reason that I say that is a skimmer is actually going to, you guys see all the, see all the nasty stuff in there? Those are proteins, which is fish waste and food, the uneaten food. So if we're picking up the proteins out of our water, which is just called a protein skimmer, it's gonna just fill this with air. This slowly goes up. I just messed with it, so the bubbles went back down. But this slowly fills up, and then how do I say this? The air that comes up is actually trapping those particles in it, and then it takes it and it skims it into this collection cup. Then all you have to do is take the collection cup out, clean it off, and then put it back on. I've actually, this sump, or this skimmer, I had an issue with. The pump went out right there, so I had a hang-on back skimmer in here, but I've since taken that out today and replaced it again with a reef octopus, so it's not quite ready yet. It's still kind of running, getting those proteins up and out. So that's that. You guys see that little critter right there? See those stripes under that thing? It's really small. This is a snowflake eel. It lives in the sump here. Reason that the snowflake eel, which is also moray eel, lives in the sump is because it was living in here, wound up in there, got sucked through there, and then was living in that little area where that sponge is. I don't know, I think it was missing for about 3 weeks. I was like, where'd it go? I'm looking on the floor, I'm looking everywhere. Anyway, that's where it was. I guess I was eating well, because he looked pretty fat and we got him out. So he's doing good. So the actual setup itself, we also have an Aquarium Pro heater back here. When it comes to your saltwater tanks, guys, I know that they're expensive as it is, but think of all that expense and then just ruining it. And how would you ruin it? You would ruin it by using a cheap heater. Don't do that. Get you a good heater. Aquarium Pro makes a good one. Don't get the regular Aquarium one. I had an issue with that one. But the Aquarium Pro, this thing has been solid for me. It's been a really great heater. Another one that I suggest is the Eheim Jaeger heater. That thing's been really good for me. I use that in a couple of my tanks, large tanks, because the Eheims, I mean, they can handle the load. So don't skimp on your heater. Get a good one. The lights on this tank, this is an A80 Kessel, and this right here will do what I'm going to do for these as far as the corals in this tank. I don't have anything in here that's going to be too difficult to keep, and you guys can see the anemone. We got it today and it's already fully opened up. It's probably about 1.5 inches wide all the way around. So you know, the light is capable of doing what I needed to do in here, and that's great for me. So it's perfect. Hunter, what else do we need to talk about in your tank?
Something that I really want to just kind of focus on for a second.
I don't think anybody can hear you. You gotta get over here.
Oh, whoops. Okay, I'm here. Something that I kind of just want to focus on is like future plans for the tank.
Future plans, we're going to add some more inhabitants and probably add some more zoas. And definitely going to look into some different coral that we can grow with the A80. Now, we're not going to get, you know, SPS coral or anything like that in here, but the stuff that we have in here will grow, and we can add more of it, just different colors, to bring a lot of the vibrancy and the color out in the tank. Now, I'm excited to do it.
I really want to turn this into like a giant coral reef, especially on that rock where the anemone is, just covered in like a rainbow coral reef. That'd be really cool.
Bunch of different colors. Well, we'll start fragging the stuff in the 120 after it starts growing out even bigger. So, all right, guys, we appreciate you watching. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook at Psychotic Aquatics YouTube. You guys see it there. And don't forget to subscribe. Hit the button right there. If you guys have questions for us, you can leave a question in the comments, or you can hit us up on Facebook, and we'll be more than happy to, you know, answer any questions you have there. Or, you know, you can post up your tanks, show us what you're doing. We'd be excited to see it. I love fish tanks. This is, you know, just one of 20 that are set up in here. So I love fish tanks. I love fish. I love seeing it all. If you guys would join us over there, you can share with us and show us what you're doing.
I'll usually see some posts from time to time, and I actually see really cool stuff on there. I'll see like really cool fish. I'll see really cool established tanks. It's a really good page to be on if you like seeing other people's things and, you know, showing people what you have and what you've accomplished with your fish.
Cool. Well, enough of the promotion. Who's going to say bye? Who wants to say bye? Both of you do?
Yeah, I think both of them do.
Oh, you guys are adorable. All right, guys. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace!